In the Vedic tradition, Rajadharma is not a divine entitlement. It is a rigid, exact science of statecraft. To understand the mechanics of this system, we can look to its primary modern synthesis, the Satyarth Prakash, written by Swami Dayanand Saraswati in 1875. The sixth chapter, or Samulas, draws directly from the ancient Manusmriti and the Vedas to construct a highly detailed model of governance. This model relies on three strict pillars: deep decentralization of power, extreme psychophysical requirements for its leaders, and administrative networks built on mathematical scalability. In this framework, unchecked authority is treated as a catastrophic vulnerability, a structural flaw that guarantees the collapse of the state. The text prohibits autocracy on purely functional grounds. It argues that a solitary, unchecked monarch operating independently acts as a predator, effectively eating the populace. Sovereignty divides into three distinct pillars under the Sabha: education through the Vidya Sabha, justice via the Dharma Sabha, and executive governance within the Rajya Sabha. Accountability flows cyclically through this architecture. The executive is subordinate to the assembly, which remains accountable to the citizenry. The composition of the judicial and advisory assembly is highly regulated. It mandates a panel of 3 to 10 scholars who must be proven specialists in the Vedas, logical reasoning, linguistics, and Dharma. The text lays down a strict intellectual rule for this assembly. The legal ruling of a single master ascetic holds ultimate weight over the consensus of thousands of uneducated individuals. Sovereignty here is derived from intellectual and ethical rigor. By legally subordinating the executive to the assembly's expertise, the monarch is stripped of the capacity for unilateral veto. The leader themselves must embody specific attributes, defined through elemental metaphors, possessing the speed of Indra, the omnipresence of Vayu, the illuminating justice of Surya, the destructive force of Agni, the binding law of Varuna, the joy of Chandra, the wealth of Kubera, and the unyielding impartiality of Yama. Leaders must conquer 18 vulnerabilities: kama, desire, and krodha, anger. The 10 kama vices, like hunting, gambling, intoxicants, and women, rot executive function. The 8 krodha vices include violence and malice, but unjust punishment, harsh words, and unjust expenditure are the most corrosive. Ethical failure is a systemic breach of national security. The text issues a severe axiom: death is preferable to succumbing to these vices, because a compromised leader will drag the entire state into ruin. Internally, the administration operates as a fractal system, scaling outward with mathematical rigidity from the smallest unit of society. The fundamental baseline unit of this massive fractal scale is the individual village. The hierarchy scales through appointed lords overseeing 1, 10, 20, 100, and 1,000 villages, reporting localized issues strictly upward. To prevent corruption, a simultaneous shadow network, the intelligence system of toots or ambassadors, monitors this hierarchy and reports directly to the executive. At the top sits a To prevent bribery, they are highly compensated, but the penalty for corruption is exile and the seizure of all property. Scale in a Vedic empire is achieved through modular compartmentalization and accountability. Foreign policy and warfare are clinical, categorized protocols. The Shadgunya, or sixfold policy, dictates the deployment of alliances, warfare, marches, halts, force division, or seeking shelter. Each move is a calculated response to specific geopolitical conditions. For defense, the state constructs 4 types of forts: the desert fort, the earth fort, the water fort, and forts of trees, men, or hills. Of these, the hill fort, or Giridurg, is explicitly favored for its strategic superiority, serving as the ultimate defensible seat of power. During active combat, the army utilizes vyuhas, strict geometric tactical formations. Troops are deployed as the staff, the cart, the boar, the crocodile, the needle, the eagle, the lotus, or the thunderbolt, depending on the terrain. However, combat ethics are strictly and legally regulated. A soldier is forbidden from striking anyone who is unarmed, sleeping, naked, fleeing, or begging for mercy. Post-war protocols dictate that spoils are divided equitably using a 16th part rule. The victor is required to maintain the dignity of the defeated foe, often by installing a righteous heir from the conquered lineage. Warfare is treated as a clinical algorithm. Victory is achieved through geometric precision and ethical boundaries. The economic engine relies on progressive taxation. The mandate is that extraction must be slow, consistent, and harmless to the producer. The state must draw taxes as a leech draws blood, a calf draws milk, or a bee draws nectar, leaving the source healthy and intact. Permitted tax rates are fixed, a 50th part of the profits on gold and silver, and varying rates of a 6th, an 8th, or a 12th on agricultural produce, depending on the yield. To manage this machinery, the king follows an exhausting daily schedule, waking in the last watch of the night, rituals, public assembly, secret council, military inspections, and finally managing the inner quarters. The entire state operates on systemic homeostasis. It extracts only what is necessary to survive, while forcing the executive into a regime of relentless service. The judicial protocols are the structural beams that hold this decentralized state together. These represent Vyahara, 18 specific paths of litigation used to categorize and resolve all societal conflict. These paths cover debt, deposits, sale without ownership, joint enterprises, non-delivery of gifts, non-payment of wages, breach of contract, rescission of sale, and disputes between owners and herdsmen. The structure is completed by laws governing boundary disputes, assault, slander, theft, robbery, adultery, duties of husband and wife, inheritance, and gambling. The text delivers an ultimate axiom. Dharma, or justice, is the sole friend that follows the soul after death. An assembly that watches justice being destroyed is itself destroyed. The Vedic state is a machine. It asserts that empire is sustained not by ambition, but by the unity of personal mastery and systemic law.